need to report out from our closed session meeting that we just had that for agenda item 4.1, we approved it unanimously with a first by Trustee Romo Flores and a second by Trustee Lopez Pardo. And do we have any adjustments to the agenda? No adjustments to the agenda. Trustee Potmissel, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, so our first item is celebrating our success. We're going to be celebrating the success of our reclassified fluent English proficiency students and their families. Yay.
Thank you for being here tonight. This is an amazing show of family and community, and I just want to thank you all for being here on this cold, wet, super busy evening. So thank you for being here. Trustees, our students and families that are here, this is a major milestone for them. All of these students have been reclassified as fluent in English at an academic level. This is a major milestone, and these kids have worked really hard to get here. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of their teachers and the principals that are here tonight. So we want to recognize this achievement as publicly and as proudly as we can. Their principals are here tonight, and they will offer a certificate of achievement to the students. So students, as your name is read, if you could come up here, and your principal is going to congratulate you, and then you'll stand here for a little bit, and we'll do a picture. Up here, we have books displayed. We started making this tradition during the pandemic when we couldn't come into the boardroom. We started purchasing bilingual books for our students as a way to congratulate them and show the appreciation of their bilingualism. So the students will choose a book back at school in this next week. We have a handful of titles in each grade level, so they'll get to choose a book that they'll keep to celebrate both their English and Spanish language proficiency. So let's get this started. I'm going to invite Tiffany Doherty up here, the principal of Healdsburg Elementary, our TK through 2 site.
It's hard to decide which direction to turn. I liked Erin's way. She sort of leaned into it. I just want to mention that these students were all in kindergarten through 2nd grade when they reclassified. These are students who worked so hard to make English their language and keep their Spanish at the same time. Really proud of them for that. And we sent some kiddos off to Fitch Mountain campus, already fluent speakers, so we're super proud of that. So I'm going to get started. And then you're just going to come up here and stay after you get your certificate. I'm going to start with Lizette Castillo Castellanos. Next is Noah Vielma. Skylar Chevalier. I don't see Skylar, and she's actually new to our school this year, so she actually reclassified at her former school, but we wanted her to be honored. And then we have Dayanara Herrera Sanchez. We have Camila Marquez. We have James Santos Puertas. Would you mind to go stand up? Okay. And James also reclassified from another school. but we are happy to honor him with our students. We have Abner Cruz, who I haven't seen, but maybe is in the back.
All right.
And some students we sent off to Fitch Mountain campus, but I wanted to be the one to get to say their names. So congratulations, Kareem Carrillo Galvin. How about Lucero Martinez Saldana? Sofia Mesa Ledesma. We have Leslie Ortiz Orozco. Jimena Saravia Cruz. And then if you would all squeeze in close, we will get a picture all together. Yes, turn around so that the board can wave at you.
Congratulations.
You know, they're also clapping for your teachers, guys.
Yay!
Congratulations. Your teachers helped you do this, right? Okay. Oh, Kareem's here. Oh, good. All right. Okay, I'm going to ask Fitch Mountain just this. Oh, Kareem is ready for a picture. Great. Okay? Because your principal's coming next.
So I did ask, I'm Erica McGuire, principal at Fish Mountain campus. I did ask the third graders stay up here. Really, the teachers at HES did the work. They came to us and reclassified in August, but we are really excited to have them and wanted to congratulate them. Before I recognize our current fourth and fifth graders who have reclassified, I just want to say, as it has been said, it's just such an incredible accomplishment. The standards are so high for our English language learners to become reclassified, and they work so hard, and our teachers and staff are really dedicated to making this happen. So congratulations to everybody involved. It's a tremendous accomplishment. So I'm going to start with our fourth graders. First, Daniel Cardenas Hernandez. Sofia Perez Lemas. Itzamara Suarez Ramirez. Now our fifth graders. Now Isaac Azevedo Carbajal. Emily Garcia Aguilar. Eduardo Guzman Gonzaga. Jose Leon Duran. Felipe Martinez Gomez. Jonathan Martinez Paz. Juan Jose Mendez Mercado. Preston Mokhtan. Quetzali Moreno Lara. Jasmine Rodriguez Santiago. And Sofia Rosas Sanchez. All right, that is it. Ooh, want to come really close? You want layers? Okay. Oh, not in front of Corinne. You can step forward. Mhm. Come a little closer. There we go. Okay. Congratulations again to these students. I'm going to invite up Nicole Odetta, the principal of the junior high. She's going to be recognizing students, and I just want to give a shout out to the sixth graders she's going to be recognizing, having come from Fish Mountain. We're really proud of all of these students.
And can we just have a request to have them face the board maybe first and then turn around, or vice versa? But we want to see their faces, please.
Yeah, we want smiles.
Okay, good evening. My name is Nicole Odetto. I'm the principal of Healdsburg Junior High. Like Mrs. McGuire said, I inherited 7 sixth graders who were reclassified by the work of teachers from TK all the way to 6th grade. So a huge thank you to those teachers and that effort. I also want to recognize Mrs. Kiff, who's in the back. She's one of our ELD teachers right here. Her tireless work with our students is very much appreciated. So I will start with 6th grade, and I saw a few of our students out there, but I'm not quite sure if they're all there. So Oscar Asensio Hernandez. Itzel Carrillo Galvan. Eduardo Garcia Cedeno, I'm sorry. Vanessa Leon. Jose Madrigal Garcia. Nayeli Navarro Chavez. Victoria Reyes Lopez. Isaiah Acevedo Carvajal. Jose Cortez Santoyo. Carla Garcia Garcia. Camila Gutierrez Escobar. Denise Lopez Lopez. Isaac Martinez Molinero. Jocelyn Martinez Paz. Bianca Escobar Ruiz. Wendy Garcia Perez. Melanie Nuno. And last but not least, Eddie Zamudio Gomez. That's it. We're smiling this way first. We all fit in?
Ms. Odetto, could I ask you for a total number because I know we have some empty spaces?
Let's see.
I'll ask the other principals as well.
It's over 50 in the
18.
district. Yeah, 18 at the
18, 6 through 8. Rising 6 through 8. I think we sent 4 or 5 to the high school as freshmen this year.
All right, thank you. Congratulations. While they're getting photos, if I could ask the principal of FMC, what number would you like to submit? No competition. And at, HES? She took some years. 7 plus a bunch. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to welcome up Francisco Manriquez, the principal of Healdsburg High School.
All right, thank you. I do know that many of our kids are currently practicing right now. I just came from the high school, and there's a lot of sports going on, so it's possible some of them are doing extracurricular activities right now. But I would love to welcome up first Cristian Camacho Ruiz. Emily Duran Paredes. Diego Flores Rico. Melissa Hernandez Paniagua. Alejandro López Durán. Natalia Rodríguez Rojas. Luis Suárez Jiménez. Karen Nuno. Luis Rojas Becerra. Cristian Penalosa Velasco. Miriam Serrano Flores. And Virginia Onate. So again, I know that many of our students are out doing sports, very, very busy. But congratulations to all of the students from the bottom up and to our entire district. It's a really, really big feat. Muchas felicidades a las familias y a los estudiantes y también a los maestros. Buen hecho.
Can we get a group photo? Yeah, that's not my problem.
Okay, let's face that way.
I'd invite the board to make any comments.
I'm going to do this in Spanish first. Primeramente, quiero felicitar a todos los estudiantes por este gran logro de ser redesignado, que es un reto muy difícil. Entonces, estamos muy orgullosos de ustedes porque aparte de aprender un nuevo idioma, aprender un idioma que no es su primer idioma, están aprendiendo la materia académica, que es un doble reto. Así que felicidades por ese gran cumplimiento. Y sé que ustedes se merecen la mayor ¿cómo se dice? Praise, pero también los maestros, si los maestros obviamente no estuvieran aquí, pero también ustedes los padres son un gran parte de este logro, así que ustedes deben de también felicitarse a ustedes mismos porque sin su apoyo en casa, esto no hubiera sido posible. Los maestros solo pueden hacer lo que pueden hacer en la clase porque ustedes los traen a la escuela bien preparados para aprender. Así que felicidades a ustedes y gracias a ustedes por este gran logro. Y quiero que todos ustedes, estudiantes y padres, sigan apoyando el idioma natal porque ustedes tienen una gran ventaja por ser bilingües. No pierdan ese idioma natal porque les va a abrir muchas puertas. Y si no lo han hecho todavía, aprendan a leer y escribir en español porque eso les va a dar aún más ventaja. Pero felicidades por este gran logro. So I just wanted to say that I'm really proud of the students because it is a huge accomplishment to not only learn in a second language, but they're also learning the academic material and showing that they can perform academically as well in a language that's not their first language. And we know that the students did their big part in getting to this point, but they couldn't have done it without the support of our teachers. So we thank our teachers for this incredible support that they've given our students to get them to this point. But we also cannot leave our parents behind. Our parents do the biggest job of making sure they come to school every day, ready to learn. We cannot do this work without our parents. And so we thank all of our parents for doing their part in making sure that they're rested, well-fed, coming to school ready to learn. So thank you to all of you for this great accomplishment. And super important for parents and students not to lose their first language, and if possible, to become bilingual, and not just bilingual, but biliterate, learning to read and speak in Spanish or their native language, because it'll open even more doors for them. So congratulations.
A mí también me gustaría darle las gracias a todos los padres que están aquí, a los que no son padres, pero están aquí con sus hijos, sobrinos, nietos. Sé que es difícil venir a estas horas, especialmente sabiendo que trabajamos al día siguiente. A los estudiantes, desde el primer grado hasta la preparatoria, me gustaría decirles que ser bilingüe es un superpoder que van a llevar con ustedes para siempre. Sigan hablando español, sigan hablando inglés, practiquen los dos idiomas y practiquen el idioma en la casa. A los papás, síganles hablando en español aunque ellos les contesten en inglés, porque eso les va a ayudar mucho en el futuro. Es un superpoder que pueden usar ellos para siempre. Muchas gracias por estar aquí.
Congratulations, and thank you all for being here tonight. What an amazing celebration of such hard work and accomplishment.
Thank you, families. We have other business. I know many of you have not had dinner yet, and so you are welcome to stay, but we also understand that most of you will want to leave, and so that is fine. So thank you. Buenas noches.
Congratulations to all our students, to our parents, and our teachers.
Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay.
Director Fender, I just counted the number. I have 57, unless there was some double dipping, but I don't think there was. Right.
Okay.
Isn't it? But would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, do we have any public comment on agenda items? Okay, then we're on to 11.1 student learning. The EL master plan update.
All right, so about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, we started to compile all of the information that guides what you saw here tonight. This is the master plan in development. It is very much a work in progress right now as we're working very hard to get input. So a draft was produced around this time last year, and you know, in all transparency, it kind of sat quiet while I was on a leave of absence. We've dug into the stakeholder and educational partner engagement over the last couple months. So we are in a transition period. I just want to make sure we're all clear and anybody watching. You'll see in both our documents and others that are coming out this shift from English learner to multilingual learner. And the idea here, and I think it's a great one, is to better describe the asset of learning, as Trustee Romo Flores said, of learning both English and Spanish, and that it is an asset to be a bilingual and multilingual learner. So you'll see the English learner in some places, multilingual in others. Some of this has to do with the documents that we're following. Others of it just has us catching where we're using just EL. So what is an English learner or multilingual master plan? In most places, it's policy, procedures, documentation, your RFEP. We're trying really hard to make this more, that it's not just a policy document that meets the federal and state requirements, but it also speaks to our educational program and our commitment to supporting and being partners with our families. So you'll notice, and as I've said before, that Chapter 1 is about family and community engagement. We have used a number of documents and continue to return to these and provide professional development both to our teachers in the classroom, but also our administrators have been through a series of trainings on the EL roadmap. Consistently, I'm turning to the EL Master Playbook, and thankfully we didn't get picked for federal program monitoring last year, but the program instrument that really is the the ultimate policy document that we need to make sure that we're aligned to. So our goal here is more than policy and just writing words on paper, but creating an equitable, coherent, and sustainable system of services. You know, I often make the joke, if any of us were to not be able to show up work tomorrow, would we have a document that we could put in front of a new principal or a new ELD teacher's eyes in order to explain what we do? So that's an important piece, so we have it written out. As I've been getting stakeholder engagement and doing these engagement sessions, it's, I want to always say, this is a point in time, right? What is on paper may change tomorrow, and we're seeing that with our newcomer students, right? I keep being like, I got to add that paragraph because we just added, for example, Trustee Potmasil was in the Healdsburg High School ELAC meeting, and the students who were there came up with this great idea to provide after-school tutoring in Spanish, which we have not done. And so we're making that happen. That's going to start right after Thanksgiving. So on Wednesdays after school, the bilingual instructional assistant who works with our students during the school day will be offering free tutoring on Wednesdays in Spanish for any subject. So he is with them in their courses for many parts of the day. So that's not in the plan yet. I need to update it. So it's a hot document, right? Lots of changes happening in the document right now, and that's partly why it's not in this. We'll finish up the stakeholder engagement towards the end of this month. I'll put the final touches on the writing of it in December and then bring it all to you for a formal review and hopefully your approval in January. So 4 chapters, as I mentioned, family and community engagement, chapter 1, instructional program that is in constant flux. So trying to document both what we do and, as I've said to our educational partners, to be aspirational. What are we working towards, right? We want to document not only what's happening now, but the what could be. We've updated data, and that's going to spend a lot of time tonight on data. We've got all our new data refreshed, so I'm going to spend a fair amount of time looking at data tonight with you all. So this is a document that we often bring into our educational stakeholder engagement sessions. And, again, when talking with folks, want to lay some ideas on the table where we're coming from and some data. So we share some data. I try to get through this very quickly during the sessions because really it's not about us telling people how great we are and what we think we're doing, but those sessions should be gathering information from them. So here's a list going back from February of some of the kind of what I call marquee educational partner engagement, right? Much of this has happened in formal meetings. For example, I have had meetings with the ELA and ELD teachers in grades 6 through 12. Thank you. Ms. Kiff was there and spent, a good hour plus after school along with her fellow ELA and ELD teachers. So sometimes it's formal where we're sitting down and this is what we're talking about. Thankfully, in a small district, there's also other informal conversations that happen when I'm visiting classrooms, when somebody catches me in the hall. So taking all of that into an account, we just visited the Oakland International High School to learn more about supports for newcomers. We generally have had 3 to 5 newcomers in our entire district. So normally we'd have a couple per, not even a couple, 1 or 2 per site. We have nearly 40 newcomers in the district now, ranged from 12 to 14 at the high school. We have 5 at the junior high. We have 3 to 5 at Fitch. Sometimes students come in and move out. This is somewhat the nature of recent immigrants as they get settled and figure out their housing and schooling. And we have a handful at Healdsburg Elementary. This is unprecedented in our district. Like I said, 2 to 5 max. So we're trying to learn real quick. So myself and Kim Harris, who you met, their mental health specialist, went and spent an entire day at the Oakland International High School to learn about, this is a marquee program. It's been around for 15 years. They serve over 300 recent immigrants from all over the world. So we went to see kind of what they do. So I included that. That's, to me, a part of our educational partner engagement is seeing what other institutions that have more experience than this than we do. So a little bit about the data. We all know we're in declining enrollment, as is the rest of the county. So a little snapshot here. The blue is the overall population of the district. The red is our Latinx population, and then the yellow is English learners. And you can see a big drop from 2017 to 2020-22. The official data will be coming out for this next school year, but you can see we kind of have the lines following each other there. You saw tonight some, yeah. Those are just ELs. Yeah, those are students, not ever ELs, right? Just students who are currently working on becoming reclassified. Thank you. So you saw a little bit of evidence tonight. So HUSD were considered to have a high percentage of students who are making progress, and this very high, medium, low, very low is set by the California Department of Ed. So making really great progress. You'll see a lot of this data. We're using comparison data to 2019. It's kind of the last normal year, right? It's right before the pandemic began. Normal, kind of. And when I get into the CASP data, I'll talk a little bit about the last 6-7 years of trauma in our community. So, I would argue that 2019 with an asterisk because of fire, flood, lots of other things happening in our community. But, the students you saw in this room, this is evidence of their data. So another way to look at it, so it gets into the weeds a little bit, but there's different English language proficiency breakdown. I will present the data dashboard to you all in January. So we just got a little preview of the California data dashboard. This is an important metric on that data dashboard, so we'll dive into it in January again. But you can see some improvement there overall. Maybe. This is our number of students. So you can see 0 to 3 years there. Students who are in that 0 to 3 are either considered newcomers or they're new to school, right? They're kindergartners, TKs. And then the gray is long-term English language learners. So a nice, as you could see, the number of high schoolers and junior high students, that's really been a big focus. And I know a focus of the board is paying attention to our long-term English language learners and trying to decrease those numbers. So that's something that we have been working hard on and paying a lot of attention to. So if we look at the number of long-term English language learners by grade level, you could hear the principals, right? They're paying attention to it. They know how many fifth graders are leaving Fitch and heading to the junior high as an English language learner, right? That is an important transition that we pay a whole lot of attention to. And then Nicole knows her numbers. How many eighth graders is she sending to the high school? We're very focused on our English language learners who are older, and we're starting to get nervous that we haven't provided the supports that they need. So you can see overall we're trending in the right direction. We need to be honest that there's still work to do here, but the number obviously in red there are far lower than they were back in the 2021 school year. So we're chipping away at it, going from, in grade 12, 17 long-term English language learners to 9. So that's what we want to see. I want to see those numbers get down. Graduation rate, this is a really interesting metric, something to be proud of. Our Latinx graduation rate was actually higher than our white graduation rate this past year. I want to remind the board and people who are maybe watching or will watch this, I would say in Healdsburg, we do a great job of graduating our kids. The handful of students that don't graduate are in a certificate of completion. So these are students who have severe learning disabilities and are not on a diploma track from a very young age generally. So any student who receives a certificate of completion is considered a non-grad. I think it's a bummer. Doesn't feel like a fair metric to the student, the family, or us. Also, if they receive a high set or a GED, they are not considered graduates. So that's another piece that is kind of a bummer. But it's an interesting thing here that more happiness there, 98% of our Latinx students. Something that we pay a whole lot of attention to in Healdsburg and across the county is A to G completion. To remind ourselves is the coursework that students need to make or take in order to graduate to make an application to a four-year university. We did have a drop there, particularly with our Latinx students, and you will see this in the CASP data that we're going to talk about. This is the pandemic effect, right? In my opinion, this is inherent inequities. We did what we could in order to provide computers and internet and safe places to learn and access. But the reality is the difference between a student with high-speed internet in a room by themselves with a parent who might be home supporting their education for nearly 2 years of distance learning versus a student who is living in a busier household with numerous families and parents who are likely working for much of the day as essential workers. Those are two different realities. And I don't want to blame the pandemic completely, but it is a reality of this data that we're aware of and trying to make sure that we're getting our students who did suffer during the pandemic and other issues in our community the support they need, whether it be mental health or otherwise. State seal of biliteracy. So the big difference there, the 56%, this is because we didn't have CASP. So this is State Seal of Biliteracy, where we were able to use grades rather than CASP. 11th graders, and you'll see again, they don't take the CASP too seriously. They don't realize that it may have implications. And so that 2021 graduates didn't take CASP, so the state allowed us to use GPA and other academic metrics. And that was true not just in Healdsburg, right, throughout the state. So we see a nice bump. And, I would argue, as somebody who sometimes questions state assessments, particularly at the high school level, that these are students who had a 3.5 or above, achieving well in high school. And so that difference between not having CAST scores be a part of the State Seal of Biliteracy, there's a research project there for somebody who wants to write a doctorate, I think. Not mine. All right, this is something to pay attention to. In 2018, you can see the crunching there. You can see our numbers getting closer together. So the top line, let's look at 2018, 31% of our white students took a AP exam. So this is not just necessarily that they're in the course, but they signed up for the exam, which is a different marker. Our Latinx students got within 6 percentage points, and then you can start to see some changes in there. And again, not to take the fault off of the school system, but I would say that this is a pandemic effect as well, right? We've seen lots of articles from EdTrust West, from EdSource of the inherent equities that played out. And we're seeing now that 47% of the white students in this past year took a AP exam, while our Latinx students were down to 22%. That is alarming. It's something that we're paying attention to. Thankfully, our new assistant principal, John Weller, is Johnny on the spot. We were having a lot of conversations about this. And, I'll say a lot of it has to do with a perception of who AP is for, how you sign up for it. And so I know John and Francisco Manriquez and I are working hard along with the teachers to provide more information to families and students about what is AP, that it's open enrollment, to do sessions in Spanish. So when we start doing the course signups in January, that will be a big push. This isn't that our students can't be successful in the courses. We know they can. Helping them understand how to navigate the process to sign up for an AP class and have that belief that that course is for them and their families.
This is me not understanding numbers. So the 22% is 22% of our Latino students?
Yes.
Okay, so 1/5 of the kids.
Right,
okay.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Golden State Seal merit, again, you can see a nice jump there in the white population and a decrease from 2021 to 2022. I would argue that this, again, has to do with inherent inequities that played out during the pandemic. So we're seeing this happen in our own data here in our community. So I mentioned at the beginning, to kind of wrap this up, I'm on the road show. About every other day, I'm in a meeting with somebody, whether it be a parent outreach coordinator or a counselor or a group of teachers getting input. So a little bit of summary of kind of what we're starting to see from the surveys and these other groups. Staff, teachers, parents, and students have all said that they appreciate the flexibility and that we have constantly revisited what we're doing, and that there's not this that's the way we do it around here, and that's the curriculum we use, or that's how we schedule students. A good example of that is at the junior high. For many years, when we were using accelerated English methodologies as our primary, we were putting students by level, by LPAC level. And then it started to make sense to schedule students by grade level. So we had a couple of years where all the 6th graders were together in an ELD class, all the 7th graders were in class, all the 8th grade. It made sense when we looked at our numbers at the very beginning of the school year, and I'll give props to Principal Odetto. She called me up. She's like, I'm finalizing my master schedule. And Jamie Kiff and the other teachers said, it would work better if we went back to leveling. That the kids we have and their needs, and instead of having all the sixth graders in one room, we think it would be better if we had a newcomer class at a level 1 and then a higher level 2-3 class in terms of the numbers and their skill set. So that constant flexibility is a part of our program. So that's the challenge of writing up our plan too, because if I say, oh, we schedule by grade level in junior high, and then we get our kids and we see what their needs are and how many there are, and then we have more newcomers than we've ever had, and now it's changed. So what you'll see in the description in the plan is this really using our data to understand who our students are and how many we have. And I think that's the beauty of a small school district, is to be nimble like this and to be able to add a newcomer section kind of within the first month of the school year at the junior high, for example. The other thing I think that's worth pointing out, and you'll see a little bit later tonight, is a resounding needing more tutoring opportunities. And we know from the research, again, that one-on-one personalized tutoring is a key to student achievement. And families who have either the financial ability or other resources often hire private tutors. And we want to make sure that we don't have the have and the have-nots in Healdsburg, where some can get tutoring and others cannot. So we're working on enhancing our tutoring through a partnership with paper tutoring and making sure that our teachers are available after school for tutoring as well. The parents there, I'm not going to read everything. I think you guys can probably figure out what that is. And this is coming from the ELAC meetings and also from the survey that we sent out. Something that I love doing is visiting with the students. So going to the ELD classes and really trying to keep it low key of, what are we doing well? What do you want more of? What would help you learn better, be more engaged? And so these are some of the things that the students, and are resounding from students across the grade levels, particularly in the upper grades, is that they want more real world learning opportunities, such as field trips and an application of what they're learning outside of school. I also wanted to talk a lot about when they like it when they can be creative and show what they know and can do in different ways. And so this is trying to build upon, I think, some of the great project-based learning that we do in K-5 that we're still working to get to be part of the regular instructional program in grades 6 through 12. Staff and teachers, a little bit of summary.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please.
Back to your comment about, you were talking about leveling. Help me understand the difference between leveling and tracking. Tracking, as we know, puts kids at a track and they get stuck there, or could get stuck there. So
right. So, we have an obligation to provide designated English language development to all students. At the junior high and high school, that's a class. So they have to have a designated ELD class. The difference is whether, so an example, I'll shift to the high school. We had many more high school students who needed English language development in years past than we do now. And so we had 3 sections. We'd have a 9th grade section, a 10th grade section, an 11th and 12th grade section. So all the 9th graders who needed English language development would be in a class together. It was taught by the same teacher that teaches their English language course. They all were long-term English language learners. We had so few newcomers that it wasn't part of our reality, part of our scheduling. Now at the high school, we have 2 sections that are leveled. We have a newcomer section with those 12 students that literally came out of nowhere in the last 2 years. And then we have one section with our level 2 and 3 students together. So they've received a 2 or a 3 on the LPAC. And so they are together. So rather than and there are, Francisco might know better than me, I think there are 13 students in the 2-3, in Mr. Perez's 2-3. Yeah. And those are all our long-term English language learners. So of various grades. They could be 9 through 12, but they're a little stuck. And so putting those students in with newcomers or grade leveling them doesn't make sense.
Grade level ELD, because they're ELDs, a grade level
English class? Yes.
No, they're designated ELD.
That is their designated ELD class.
but you're saying that they're all clustered together, 9th through,
Not right. So they're level 2 and 3 from the LPAC. So they're
regardless of their grade level?
regardless of their grade level.
So are they getting their grade level designated ELD?
Yeah, in that class, yes. Yeah. So Dr. Perez does a really great job of doing station rotation. So he generally does a whole lesson for about 15 minutes, and then he's grouping them depending on what their needs and what their grade level is. And there's so few of them, anywhere from, we max out at 14. It's 11 or 12 right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's 12 or 14 students as newcomers in one section.
Okay.
And then there's another section of our long-term English language learners.
Okay, so the newcomers.
So in the high school, I have a total of about 24 English language learners.
I got it. So one section for the, I'm going to say more advanced English learners than the newcomers.
Correct.
Okay, and then within that section, for Marcella's question, is they're getting the 11th grade ELD.
Correct.
And 9th grade if they're in 9th grade.
Correct.
Thank you.
You got it. Yeah. Something quickly I want to point out, hearing from staff and teachers, we were very dependent on outside providers for accelerated English. And we've transitioned to teachers teaching teachers, and they like it. We've built our own muscle, and we do a lot of in-house collaboration, professional development, and you'll see it's paying off, I think, in how our students are doing. The extended learning program that's being provided after school, particularly in K through 5, is also something that we heard from. In terms of need, staff and teachers, you can read, but I think something that we hear over and over again, and that we're working hard, and I'll say, it's kind of snuck up on us, to be completely honest, is more support and resources for our newcomers is something we are very focused on and trying to get better at, and learning how to provide support both for the students and their families. So that's all I have on this presentation, really, just to wrap it up. Like I mentioned, November, continuing to gather input. I've got a couple more to do in December, doing that heavy editing on the master plan with help from the co-authors and what the co-authors look like. Again, in full transparency, there's not teachers jumping up and down being like, yes, I would like to do this. It's been really tough to get co-authors. I'd say I have co-editors more than anything, willing to, look at what's been written and add around the margins. And so I have 2 at the high school who've been looking at it, 2 at the junior high. Thank you, Ms. Kiff. Went through it with a fine-tooth comb and made some nice edits. And then at the elementary, it's been more at the site leadership team level is where we're really spending time and reviewing the document, going not line by line, but reading chapters together. So I would say, in all honesty, it's more of co-editing than co-authoring. I'm doing the majority of the writing and giving it to our folks in order for them to provide some editorial input. And I'll come back in January. The document will be done. I'll be hopefully looking real good. You guys will have plenty of time to review it. It'll be over 100 pages. We're at about 90 some right now. So that's the timeline. And that's it. Any other questions, comments, input?
Will your plan, because I know you talked about the inequities and the achievement gap that we're seeing, is there going to be a section on how to address that?
That's a really good question. Right now, we don't have a separate section. I would say it's embedded within each school. So we have, a section of how we're addressing English language development at each school. But I would say it's probably not a bad idea to add a subsection by school, right? Because I think it's a little different for example, you'll see in the CASP data, our students who are currently 12th graders were in 5th grade when the Tubbs fire came, right? So these students have had interrupted schooling since 5th grade between fires and smoke days and floods and pandemic. So I think the needs of a student who is in 11th and 12th grade and kind of what their school and life experience has been is very different than our little guys up here who know a very different schooling experience. So yeah, thanks for the input, and we'll consider that. I think it's a need. Thank you. And if you have any other thoughts, you all have access. You have a link to the working document. Please feel free to email me, or if you'd like to have a meeting, I'd be happy to spend more time sitting with you, reviewing the document, getting your input. I'd welcome that opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Erin, I just wanted to say, well, first of all, thank you for being here today.
Yes.
I know it was challenging for you to be here with us today, so I
Thanks.
appreciate your efforts. I also love the term shifting from English learner to multilingual. I think you're completely right when you say that it's asset-based, right? Like we're looking at it through an asset lens. I know I sound like a broken record, but I think, and I don't know if it's appropriate to share this here or during this conversation, but I still have like lingering in the back of my mind is an emphasis in all of our students taking Spanish, all of them having the access to take Spanish. And so I just want to like keep that, like I want to say that, I want to put that out in the universe so we continue to talk about how our students through an asset lens can have the chance and the opportunity to take Spanish and English, because currently our EL students are not taking Spanish.
Yeah.
So I want to, I'm just putting that out there.
No. At HES?
Is it during class or is it an after school activity? Okay.
During.
Oh, and it's EL students as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
oh,
we made
awesome.
that transition 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That TK1 take it as part of the regular cycle. And, again, in full transparency, when students are in second grade, we feel like using that time to focus on designated English language development and more time in a designated English language development environment is super important. Mm-hmm. So if they need that second, third, fourth, fifth, mm-hmm. that's when they are pulled mm-hmm. from Spanish enrichment to a designated English language small group. Yeah. But I hear you.
Which I understand, and that has been the norm for so long.
Yeah.
But it's
I hear you.
I want every student to be biliterate. I want them to know how to read and write in Spanish, just as I want them to know how I want them to know English, right? And so, but yeah, thank you. I did not know that. Thank you. And I would love to visit if,
Yeah,
welcome.
come on over. Come see. It's adorable. As you saw. Yeah. And I hear you. It's, we grapple with it. It's about instructional minutes. But yeah, please continue to share your desire. You're not off base. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Like I said, we've got, a good 2.5 months here. It's a living document. We'll continue to iterate on it as things change and as we learn and grow. So we've got a couple other things that I need to get through.
Thank you very much, Erin, for presenting on that. It's a super important thing to the board and has been, and I'm very glad to see it moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. Somewhat related, shifting gears a little bit. I'm going to go a little faster. There's a ton of data in here. There's no way I can spend the time on every slide, so I'm going to move a little more quickly. Just real quick, the California dashboard I mentioned, we got the preview site. It opened up, taking a look. This is the color coding thing. The dashboard is our accountability, not necessarily CASP in a vacuum. It's important. LPAC data is also available. However, it's embargoed, and so we'll look at that in January. So this is just a quick summary. Between ELA there on the left, and then you've got math. So math, wow, 12%. And a lot of this is happening at Fitch Mountain campus, where they've dug in hard to support math. And you all know that this has been, a passion project of mine. 7% better than county, 1% for ELA. So we're making some good progress. Just a reminder.
Can I just share that?
Yeah.
I'm kind of a data nerd too.
Yeah.
And I was did a comparison of our other basic aid districts. So I looked at Calistoga, I looked at St. Helena, and our math scores surpassed theirs. So,
ooh, I would love to see that if you're willing to share. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to look at other basic aid school districts too. That's an important piece. Thanks. So we have some comparisons. I think, now that we're starting to feel like a little bit of normalcy, I will say, at least for me, this is 6 years, right? 6 years of some pretty big insanity, and our community in particular being affected. The fires right here in our community and in our backyard, and smoke days. I got to miss the localized flooding in 2023, but I saw it on my property when I got back. So I think it's always good to look at this data in context. And while there is work to do, I'm really proud of the work that we've done, given the amount of challenge that our students and our families and our teachers have been faced with. I'm just going to skip. This is interesting, but we don't have a ton of time. So math, you can see jumps. At MBA, there aren't enough students for us to publish the data necessarily publicly all the time. So FMC, you can see rocking at 58% at the school level, the junior high 35%, the high school a little improvement there, and then overall HUSD 39%. And this is the percent of students who are met or exceeded standard. So that's what we're talking about here. This percent of students that have met or exceeded standard, which is quite a high bar. Mathematics by grade level. So this is comparing last year's third graders to this year's third graders, right? This is not cohort data. This is last year's sixth graders to this year's sixth graders. So you can see a nice jump there from 12 to 37% in sixth grade. So not cohort data. This is just grade. Subgroup data is important. Rises all over the place. There we include our EVER ELs just to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of terminology. So an EVER EL is both our RFEP students and our students who are currently English language learners. So if they were ever designated an English language learner, they're an EVER EL. That's kind of new terminology. SED is socioeconomically disadvantaged. So these are students who are low income, socioeconomically disadvantaged, what SED is. This is where we can compare ourselves to other districts. I've chosen Windsor, Sonoma, and Cloverdale. These are districts that are also unified and are similar in terms of demographics. And what I mean by that is the percent of English language learners, percent of socioeconomically disadvantaged. While Windsor is a much larger school district, Sonoma Valley is somewhat larger, and Cloverdale is very similar. This is impressive, right? We compare us to similar districts in math. We're showing some good numbers there, and so yeah, when I go to county level meetings, I like to make sure everybody sees this data. Comparison then for state and county. So we're in red there. We'll keep HUSD in red. And then we're now comparing at the county in California. So again, above, except for grade 11. This is math. And looking at our subgroups, again, in some cases, nearly double our comparable districts. I look at our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, 33% compared to our neighbors, 15, 13, and 12. While there is work to do, comparing apples to apples, I think, is a good way to measure. Keep going. We could spend all night. Mathematics, in terms of looking at county and state comparisons, we had a small drop, and Diane and I have conversations about this fairly often. In a small district, a difference of 1 to 3, 5 students making or not making standard is going to skew our data. Thankfully, because we are small, we're watching each of our students as individuals. We'd like that number to be higher, obviously, and are talking about it. If we compare ourselves to math and 11th grade comprehensive high schools there, you can see Healdsburg High is in the red, Windsor is in the black, Sonoma Valley at 19%, and Cloverdale. So while the county level comparison, right, when you look at county level, not as good, but here when we look at similar districts, looking a little better. All right, I'm going to shift to English language arts. Feel free to ask any questions as we go. I'm going to try to fly through this, and then we've got a little bit of summary. English language arts isn't as bright as math. We did see some increases there. So the red is the most recent year. FMC increased by a point. HJH, we had a nice increase there, 8 percentage points at the high school. And I will say, we're doing some soul searching about this. I've talked to both the past and current department chair at the high school about this number, and engaging in conversation, looking at other data, STAR, grades, DNF rate. And as I said, these are our kids who are now 12th graders. These are our kids who were in 5th grade when the Tubbs fire hit. So this says 11th. These are kids who are current 12th graders. They have seen a school experience that nobody ever could have envisioned. Right? They were at Fitch when Tubbs happened. And so I don't want to just blame it on the traumatic experiences, but I think it's an important thing to think about. The other piece is just how serious, I'll tell you as a former high school administrator and high school teacher, getting kids in 11th grade to take this exam seriously is really hard. Right? High school teachers? I mean, it is pulling teeth. They don't see the value in it. It doesn't affect their GPA. It doesn't affect their ability to get into college. I don't know, Trustee Peterson, maybe you have something to say about that. But, I always take these scores with a grain of salt because of the population that we're looking at. And I think it's important to look at things like A to G, of which we remain the highest in the county, state syllabi literacy, graduation rate, AP taking. So there's some other measures that I think are more important, honestly, than CASP in the high school. We're gonna not pay attention to it, right? It's still a number, but how many eggs you put in that basket?
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
On that last graph and a few other graphs, HHS has been measured by the 11th graders.
Yeah.
Are the other grades similar to the statistics with the 11th graders?
Well, they don't. So the only students that take CASP are 3rd through 8th, and then you might remember you didn't take it in 9th and 10th.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, we have this
All right.
weird hole. Yeah, no, that's okay. You've probably blacked it out. We only test the 11th graders. Yeah. So you get 2 years off. Here, a little more of a mixed bag. And again, looking at the grade levels and having conversations about the 5th grade drop, the 7th grade drop, the 11th grade drop, trying to better understand what happened, who are our students, looking at multiple measures. This is then by cohort. So you can see this is when students are moving from one grade to the next. So what you see there in 5th grade is 52% met or exceeded when they were in 4th. And then as 5th graders dropped to 46%. And then in 6th grade, when they were in 5th grade, 54% of them were meeting or exceeding and dropped down to 34% in 6th grade. English language arts. So fast forward to comparisons here. HUST in the red, nice high bars. We're struggling a little there in 11th grade. So something that we're paying attention to. County and state. You can see that 6th grade dip. Yeah, middle school hits. You go from having 2 regular teachers, a couple enrichment teachers, to 7 different teachers. Now we'll look at our subgroups comparison to our similar districts. Picture improves a little bit here, right, when we start to compare ourselves to similar districts. The C is Cloverdale. So they're the most similar in terms of both population size, the number of students they serve, and demographics. Correct.
To be clear about that.
Yes.
Because it's very different what they have in terms of resources
to
what we have.
Aren't they now, though?
They're
I think
not
yet?
No.
Okay.
So it's very different in terms of the resources that they have in
True.
comparison to ours.
Yes.
It's not a fair comparison.
So 11th grade English language arts. So a drop there from the 2022 of 53% to the 2023 of 50%, and below our similar high schools. So we'll move into science real quick. Only our 5th and 11th graders take it when they're younger, and then the way the law reads is students have to take it at least once in high school. So we've shifted when they're taking it. We tested them in 2022 in 12th grade because they hadn't taken it the year before, and now we're testing at 11th grade, and we'll test again in 11th grade. So they'll do ELA, math, and science all in 1 year. So we've got this nice cycle, but coming out of the pandemic, we wanted to catch those 12th graders who hadn't taken it at least once in high school. So that's why you see both 11th and 12th grade there on that chart. I will say Principal McGuire and I talked about that 5th grade science dip, and our students took this a couple days after they got back from science camp, after they had taken ELA and math and went to science camp and then took CAST. So not the greatest timing, and part of this is, our kids have to take a ton of tests in the spring. If they're English language learners, they're taking the LPAC. If they're high schoolers, they're taking AP, and trying to figure out when and how to do this. And I'll tell you, again, just to be honest, sometimes you take your licks. Sometimes you're like, well, when else are we going to do it? So we have a little theory, and we're working on a better schedule, or little different of a schedule, so that doesn't happen this next year if we can avoid it. That's not the greatest chart. I'm just going to skip that. Okay. I think this is what's most important, and this comes from the hand of our principals. I think if we had a little more time, I'd invite him up here. They all wrote this. This is our principals crafting what they're doing. This comes out of their school plans for student achievement that are in the packet. Give you a second to read. You'll see a lot of consistency from school to school. The LCAP is our strategic plan. They write their school plans. One thing that was added recently under MTSS there is our principals and site teams are being trained on the professional learning community model, and we'll be developing essential standards and common formative assessments. It's something that we started before the pandemic and put a giant hold on. So reinvigorating that work through training, both with a principal and a site team. So digging into that's new. So moving to Fitch Mountain, very similar. You'll see here lots of work between Principal McGuire and Principal Doherty to create articulation between the two sites. They meet often. They meet with me often, making sure that there is coherence between TK through 5. Junior high, we had to get down into like 12-point font because Principal Odeto's got so much going on. After I asked the principals to do their slides and I was reviewing this, and I was like, oh, maybe I should cut some of this out. It's hard to read, but it's all good stuff, and it's all stuff that's happening, right? None of this is, let's just put something on a slide. So being very intentional about use of time, hearing teacher voice, teachers leading and teaching teachers. They had a faculty meeting today where they were calibrating again on the 5-star student as a positive incentive program, so keeping that alive and going. And then lastly, the plan for improvement at Healdsburg High School and Marcy Becerra Academy. You can see a little bit of a different flavor here. I had mentioned tutoring, so our wonderful tutors, in fact, 2 that are in the room tonight, spend time after a long day providing one-on-one tutoring for free for our students in mathematics, and then intend to add free in-person after-school tutoring, free on-demand tutoring in all subjects in both English and Spanish. We'll hear a little bit more about that. So that's the CASP slide deck. Any questions, comments? Next.
No, not at all. I was just going to say, I mean, I appreciate how comprehensive this report is. And, I think we all want to see these numbers continue to get better. And, it's hard. I feel like when you look at a lot of data like this, it's like I always think that we're always talking about proficiency, and the idea of what the advantages of having proficiency as you move through your education. It's like these are students, and I just always want the numbers to be higher. And I recognize, especially as a mother who looks at my own children's CASP scores, that CASP is a standardized test, and there's things that there's just advantages and disadvantages. The advantages would be that they're compared with students across the state in terms of what they're able to achieve on that day in the test. Disadvantages are that many, there's a long list of things. And I think, from a data standpoint, as board members, we're always just kind of trying to get at the truth of student achievement and understanding that all the measures that we have none of the measures that we have are perfect, and that we're going to try to get measures that are going to show us, are we consistently moving in some fashion towards this level of academic achievement that we want for our students and want for our students for their future, for their self-perception, for their self-actualization, for their choices in the world. I mean, just they're spending 6, 7, 8 hours a day at school. And, so I guess I just want to acknowledge that, I always want these numbers to be higher, and I appreciate understanding as much as we can understand about student achievement from these numbers. And I just, it's a high priority of me as a board member and of the board in general that we just keep getting better.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move along?
Let's move on.
Now you can see why I'm like, nope, I'm coming, because I don't want somebody else to have to do this, and I don't want to put it off. You're fine, Logan.
Thank you so much for...
Yeah. You got an Oliver's
Feel
dinner.
free to just keep it coming.
Okay. We got another slide deck, right? No? I don't know. Let me see. Let me remind myself where we're at. Let me look at the agenda real quick. Oh, yeah. Thank you. No. Okay. So no slide deck. Sorry, I won't kill you by slides. I'm sure the principals are happy about that, too. I'm trying.
And Erin, that contract is just for secondary, right? Just for high school?
Yeah, right now it's just for high school. So a little background on this. So the contract is in your packet and available to the public in the packet. So this time last year, I was talking to colleagues around the county in order to find an interim to serve as a CNI director while I would be gone at semester at sea. And Louis Gansler and I had a conversation, and he ended up serving for a bit of time as the interim CNI director. He was the principal at Rancho Cotati High School at the time, and so Dr. Gansler and I have known each other a long time. And I said, "So what's floating your boat? What are you super excited about? What's something you're doing in Cotati Roanoke Park or at your school that you're super excited about?" And right away, it was paper tutoring. He was like, "It is changing my school," and I was like, "Wow." And any of you know who Dr. Gansler, he doesn't talk like that very often. He tends to be guarded and a little more like, yeah, we'll wait and see. So he was very excited about paper tutoring. We got some information, seemed interesting, and he was going to try to run with it. And then things happened in the county. He didn't serve for that long. And so when I got back, it's something that we wanted to look into again. And so Principal Manriquez and Assistant Principal John Weller and I have had a few conversations. It's been brought to the high school site leadership team. And so paper tutoring, as it says in there, is on-demand virtual tutoring. Students can access during the school day. So I know our AVID teachers are really excited. So if they need to do a review of a college essay or an assignment during AVID or during study skills or during a directed studies class, they could log on and get tutoring during the school day in English or in Spanish. It actually is available in 4 different languages. The thing that I really like about this, and I think stands different from other online tutorings, there's tutoring services are exploding out there. I get an email weekly from, we'll save your school district. We have tutors. What's exciting to me about this one, and I think why Dr. Gansler was so excited about it, because he was seeing it in practice, is that all the teachers and the students get a dashboard. And so it's not just, I went to the free tutoring that's available through the Sonoma County Library. The dashboard allows both students and teachers to keep track of who got tutoring, in what class, what did they work on, what was the feedback that was given. So there's this beautiful dashboard that our instructors will have access to. So if in 11th grade, Ms. Pollock says, y'all have a rough draft, I want you to visit with a tutor over the next week on paper tutoring and do a first draft review with a live online paper tutor, she will know whether or not her students did that. She will know how long they accessed tutoring, what the feedback that was given. She will actually see in her dashboard the paper that was uploaded, what feedback was given by the tutor, and any changes that were made during the tutoring session. So that's, to me, gold, right? And all love on our teachers that provide tutoring for our students after school. But, if they go down and they spend some time with Mr. Ephraim, he may not have time to say, hey, Miss Calhoun, Johnny was here after school for an hour, worked on problem set 7.7, knocked it out of the park on the first few, but once we got into problems 7 through 12, he didn't know what to do, and so we focused on that, and this is what we worked on. We're going to get that kind of data through the paper tutoring platform. It's rostered through Clever, so if our students move around, changing classes, they will access it by... They'll have a little tab per class where they can access tutoring, and then their teacher can check up on them. So what the agreement that we're assigning is kind of a pay-to-play. So it's an upfront cost of $4,800. That's what it's going to cost us to just get into the game, to get rostered and get access. And then it'll be charged at a per-hour level up to, I think it was around $25,000, which is what our sales rep thinks we might use over this next year, given the size number of students that we have. So it's a pay to play, and that we know we're going to pay $4,800. If we don't get very many students on this, if we don't find it useful, then that's all we'll pay. I mean, hopefully some of them use it, but if they go to town and we start using more, That's why we have a cap, and I'll be able to see how many hours. I'll get a monthly report of how many kids are using it, what are they using it for, what kind of access. So we'll get a bunch of stuff from paper in English and Spanish to send home so our families are aware. They have some really beautiful communication information that we'll be able to push through our parent portal and through Aries Communications in order to let families know about this. So it's something that if I have a colleague like Dr. Gansler say this is transformational, this is changing my school, and I can give this a whirl and provide more tutoring, I'm going to give it a whirl. So that's where we're at. Any questions or comments?
Erin, you mentioned that paper would be able to provide support for math classes as well.
All subjects.
Oh, okay.
All
Because I
subjects.
understood that it was just like writing and
No.
reading support.
So they can get support for civics. They can get support for really any subject. Yeah, Spanish. I'll say that's something we hear from a lot of our students, that they need tutoring for their Spanish class. So whether they're native or non-native speaker, that they need tutoring for Spanish class.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And ACT and SAT, which is huge because those books are expensive, and tutoring for those tests are just as yeah. So that's great.
Yeah.
How do they?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they're all based in the United States. They all hold a teaching credential, not necessarily in California, but they hold a teaching credential based in the United States. Yeah. So those are the two big things I needed to hear, that they pass through the credentials to be a teacher, and they are based here in the United States.
Often we have, well, I don't know about often, but we have students who may need the help, but don't seek the help. Is there any encouragement and or incentives?
Yeah, I think as we're asking ourselves that as we roll it out, right? What incentives can teachers put in? And we met with the English department, John Weller and I, recently. The students had just submit their first writing benchmark, and so we were talking about maybe as getting ready for the writing benchmark, that an assignment might be. So they're working on I'm trying to remember what the genre of writing was. But in order to prepare, not for the actual benchmark itself, but in order to prepare, that they would have to get some tutoring as a part of an assignment in order to prepare for the benchmark. So it'll be something that we work with the teachers in order, what feels right for you as an instructor, to provide incentive.
And how long are the sessions?
Anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours. Yeah. It really just depends on, I think that if I remember right, in the pitch, I think they said the average session lasts 30 to 60 minutes, if I remember correctly.
And then, Erin, I see here that academic support is provided 24/7. Does this mean that a student can access tutoring and support from home?
Yes. Yep, absolutely, from home. And that's where we assume they'll be using it most of the time. Mm-hmm. We think that'll be the most common. You heard Principal Manriquez say a lot of our high school students weren't here tonight because they're engaged in a zillion other things, right? Work. We know high schoolers often do their homework from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. They can get tutoring during those hours.
Yeah, and I think to Mike's point, I think students want to use tutoring services offered at school, but sometimes it's inconvenient with sportings, events, but other extracurricular activities.
Jobs, childcare. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is great.
Yeah. All right, so we'll bring this back on consent, and then we're going to launch in January at the high school. So the contract is a year-long contract, January to January. So we'll bring it back on consent. We're not looking for approval tonight if you guys want to do a little more homework. And then we're going to get it up and running in January. Okay. All right, I've got one more.
Thank you, Erin.
Yes, awesome. Hi. Okay. Do you want to announce the next?
Oh, sure. 11.1D, the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials AMIM block grant plan, just in case everyone wanted to know what.
Yeah, we love our acronyms. AMIM.
Acronyms. We need some more acronyms.
Yes, we do.
AMIM, everyone.
So you can see in the board packet, This is a block grant, so it's a discretionary block grant, which means all school districts are getting this funding. It's dependent on your average daily attendance. It's dependent on the number of students that you serve. There are 6 different areas you could choose to use this funding. It is very wide-ranging, including instructional materials in every subject area. So you'll see in the plan that's there in the packet that we decided to focus on really 2 areas, and I'm so happy that our new teacher librarian is here, Dana Adams. I don't know if you've been able to meet Dana Adams, but I'm going to ask her to come up here and say a few words. So the 2 areas that we're focusing on are instructional materials and diversifying our library collection. So you can see in the plan that's there interest in reinstating and improving the theater program in secondary. So we already have launched a new theater class at the junior high that's happening right now, being taught by Robin, and intending to try to see that through in grades 6 through 12. Improving and reinstating engineering program, and Bernadette Calhoun is here tonight, and in the next meeting, we'll be talking about bringing engineering back. So we put some costs in there. We have food science launched at the junior high. And then bucketing some, you don't know, right? This is a grant that can be used over multiple years. There's a 4-year payout. And so, you don't know exactly. So we're trying to make some plans in there with materials and supplies, professional development, allowing ourselves a little bit of cushion. So, as we get further into this and through some spending, we'd bring the plan back to you to become a little more concrete on where we've said, right now it's $20,000 in materials and supplies. We'll see where that goes. What I want to highlight tonight, and I think one of the the neatest things here, is that in this from the legislature, the way it reads is one of the things you could fund is to implement a systematic approach to enhance the library collection in each school library by adding diverse, culturally relevant, and multilingual titles. So our total grant here that we will get through the 25-26 school year is about $700,000. We're going to spend 180 of that in improving our library collections. So I'm going to invite Dana up here to give us a little more specifics. Thrilled to have Ms. Adams a part of our team here. She's very passionate about this, and thanks for slugging through. So,
Hi, thank you for having me. So we looked at the collections of the schools. We did a diversity audit, and we found that there was a deficit in representation in all of our schools. And because it's so beautiful that we're mentioned in this grant, which is rare for libraries to be mentioned, it was a great opportunity for us to take care of that deficit. And we want our students to see themselves in the books that they're reading. We want them to see the world around them as it truly is, and we want to open doors to them, to their exposure. So it's a great opportunity for us to do that with this grant. And I just want to say that we've been the library team has been meeting monthly and working on how to select these culturally representative, authentic authors, high quality titles for the libraries. And the last meeting, we had a vendor that came in with books that we could actually look at, physically read in Spanish, authentic Spanish language books. And we learned so much. And Greta, who's here, asked some wonderful questions about publishers and if we wanted publishers from Spain or Central America and Mexico. And because of those questions and us getting together, we were able to really fine tune what we wanted in our language representation in our libraries. And so we made these wonderful lists and connections with each other and the content. So that's it. So it's pretty exciting. So thank you.
Yay, totally exciting.
That's all I have. I promise.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Okay, up next we have Hatter Report. No, not on.
Yeah. I'm having a blast too. So I'm also turning into a playwright because when we first started drama on the first week of classes, the kids said, "Do we have to get up on stage?" And I was like, well, if we're going to have a play, somebody has to get up there. So the kids have come a long way. They did a flash mob dance on Halloween. I had kids come in costumes, and when Christo turned on the music, the kids snuck out and did their dance routine. They was at their first drama presentation. They're a little worried, and I said, I know this is supposed to be how to report. The kids are a little worried, and I said, it's Halloween. Everybody's dressed up, and everyone's acting weird. So we get out there and dance, we'll look like everyone else. So they did a good job. So I'm a playwright now because at the beginning, nobody wanted to be on stage. And now everybody wants to be on stage, and there's 29 kids. So I am revamping A Christmas Carol to have 29 parts. We'll see how it goes. They all want to be a part. So let's see. The elementary schools are involved in parent-teacher conferences. And I have to tell you, the teachers are very, very happy and grateful. So thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Do we have a CSEA report tonight? All right, Student Trustee Peterson, would you like to make your report?
There we go. All right. First of all, I want to thank all the principals who I was able to work with this month. Unfortunately, I had a bit of a busy schedule this month, so I wasn't able to meet in person. But some of them got back to me with email, and we were able to figure it out. So I have a report from more than just the high school this time. Just to reiterate, my job as student trustee is to represent the students of all of Healdsburg Unified School District. So my goal here is to understand the point of view of each student from each site. So HES, HJH, Fitch Mountain Campus, all of the above. So I'll start with Healdsburg Junior High. So this month, or since the last board meeting, students are finding teachers to be club leaders, so to start their own clubs. They're having a club fair the week after Thanksgiving, so the week they get back. So that way students can go around, see what the clubs are about, join each one. Their winter dance is coming up in December. They this year's they have something called the Zero Tardy Party, which I like the fact that it rhymes. It's happening at the end of the semester, so basically they track all of the tardies, and a good incentive for people to be on time to class, which is a skill that lasts long after high school and into high school, as I'm experiencing. So they also have the ELA department administering writing benchmarks, the first one of the year. That's to close out this trimester. And the 7th, 8th grade boys basketball and the 7th, 8th grade girls volleyball is beginning. So winter sports on a roll. I'll move on to HES. The PTO Fall Festival happened. There are family games happening, bobbing for apples, different fun things in October. And food was sold. All the money goes back to the PTO, so it's nice that they're able to do that. The 2nd grade class goes, there's a lot of field trips going on right now. They have a lot of fun opportunities. So the 2nd grade class goes to Pepperwood. Kindergartners go to the Healdsburg Fire Department. They get to explore, see a lot of different things. They had obviously Halloween, as every school did, and dress up as costumes. That's always fun, and especially for kids that age, you know. at the high school, we saw some minimal participation, but we still had a good, fun time with it. At HES, the STAR reading and math benchmarks are improving. Students are doing well. And concluding trimester 1 with awards assembly on Friday. One thing I like about this is they have awards geared towards kindness, safe, responsible, respectful, playground leader, and there were a few others. So I liked their categories there. Moving on to the high school, we had recently our first food court day in quite a few years. So in the past, quite a few years ago, we had this thing called Food Court Day where clubs were able to come in and make food for everyone, and they were able to raise money for themselves and sell it at Food Court Day for a lowered cost than you might find anywhere else, but also they're still making money and everyone's having a good time. So we had quite a few clubs participate. There were many people who ran out of food, but the cool thing was the lines were short. Nobody was left empty-handed. Everyone got food, so it was a really nice way to raise money for the clubs, and everybody got some good food. Rebit is beginning the week after we get back from Thanksgiving, so the leadership class is hard at work preparing for their rallies, preparing for the games, running the snack shack, all sorts of things. Basketball, wrestling, winter sports along with that are starting and going well. In fact, there's a basketball game going on tonight at the high school. And the leadership class, one thing I love about the leadership class, and it's switched teachers the last few years, but so this year we have a new teacher teaching leadership. It is a 0 period, so we get there at 7:30 every morning and do our thing. One thing I love about that class is that this year we've been geared a lot towards exploring what leadership is and building leaders out of each student in that class so that we can then go lead the student population at our school. Because our goal is to get the most people involved. Our goal is to get everyone to be a leader, but first that starts with the leadership class and making sure we understand how to actually be a leader and move things along in our school.
Who's your teacher?
What's that?
Who's the leadership?
Miss Wesley Hunt. So she's the FFA advisor and teaches some ag classes. So she is teaching leadership this year.
Nice. Thank you.
Awesome. Any questions with that report?
No, thanks for a super comprehensive report. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Are there any Board of Trustees reports?
I just want to share that I had the privilege of attending the California Principal Support Network last week, and I was a guest, and I was able to see our teams there in action, super engaged, and I was super excited to see that Healdsburg was there. So kudos to all of you and for doing that work. And I'm really hoping that we can get some high school teachers to join the high school team, because I think it's just such powerful work. There's so much potential in that work. And I really see it just being a game changer for us as a district. And so I thank all of you principals for being there and your teams, and I'm hoping we can build a high school team. So thank you all.
Anything else? Okay, would we like to have a break, or do we just want to power through the end of the agenda? Okay, let's keep going through the rest of the agenda. We're on to 11.2A, the annual organizational meeting.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This item is setting the annual organizational meeting. It's required by Ed Code to set it. It needs to be set after the second Friday in December, within 15 days. So we're proposing to set the meeting for December 13th, which is our regular board meeting.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this date?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. That doesn't have to be a roll call. No, it doesn't. Okay. And then we're on to 11.2B, Healdsburg Unified School District Board Meeting Calendar.
This is the draft board calendar for the 2024 calendar year. There's a couple, well, one meeting that's a change that's not on a Wednesday, which is June 20th, because the Wednesday that month is June 19th. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then June 19th is a holiday, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, are we meeting?
No, so we scheduled
Move
it
to the
for
20th.
for
Yeah.
the day after.
Yeah. So it's just not on the regular Wednesday.
Other than that, all the dates are same as normal.
The usual,
The
same,
usual,
same,
yeah.
as expected?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Totally. Okay, and then we have 11.3A, the new job description for the wellness outreach specialist.
All right. So I am bringing the Wellness Outreach Specialist job description back for action. And I did make the changes requested to make this job description bilingual required. If you see on page 2, it does reflect that change. And so with that, I'm hoping we can move forward with approving it.
I have a question, Karen. Sorry. I think in our previous conversation, Chris had mentioned I suggested bilingual in a required skill, but Chris had suggested adding it to the title of the job position. Did we decide not to do that?
We talked briefly about that, but then we thought about if it was necessary to add that to every single, job description in the future. And so we talked that we would add that to the body of the job description. And then when I post it on EdJoin, I would definitely put that in the posting. And that's what the decision that we had made. And
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember that previous
I
conversation.
know. I
I
do remember him saying that, but we talked a little bit more in depth. And so.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Okay.
Any questions?
Did you have a question, Guadalupe? No. Okay.
She's ready to motion.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, I'm accepting motions.
So moved.
Thank you. And I'll second. Why not? All in favor, say aye. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Okay, do we have any board reports, comments, requests for information? I did want to mention that I was at the Fall Festival at HES, and it was so much fun and so well attended and was just awesome.
And if I could mention that I always mispronounce this, Emeritus, can't even talk today. Shout out to SB Esperanza, our parent outreach, who set up a great display of the Mile Club. And I think it was well received, and it was good to see our presence and particularly that club.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay, we will not be recessing to closed session. We're done there. And our next regular board meeting is Wednesday, December 13th at the Healdsburg High School Library. The deadline to submit agenda items is Monday, December 4th. And Wednesday, December 6th, all the backup materials will be due. And we will adjourn the meeting at 7:55.